Welcome to the series on Salesforce flows. Today, we will understand how to implement flow asynchronously and also how to create a scheduled path using flows. Before understanding the today's session, let us see what we have discussed earlier. In earlier session, we have seen scenarios related to after triggered flows. So to know more about these scenarios, you can check out my previous videos. Now let's jump into today's goal. As I said, today we will understand how to implement a asynchronous flow and how to implement a scheduled path flows. So to understand this more better, let's see how a flow is executed. So flow is executed in two different ways. One is like execute immediately and one is execute asynchronously. And other ways execute through scheduled path. So what is the difference? So in execute immediately scenario, what happens is whenever a DML event occurs and a flow is getting triggered, the flow and the DML related operations are executed in the same transaction. That means the governor limits are added for the flow and also the DML related events. But while coming to execute asynchronous way, what happens is whenever a DML event occurs, the flow and the DML related transaction executes into two different scenarios. Like it has a two different transactions. So what happens in that scenario is two governor set of limits will be created and it will be executed independently. So that way we can have more governor limits when we are doing flow execution asynchronously. Similarly, executing through scheduled path also has the same similar way where first the DML event is executed in a separate transaction and there's a time gap based on the time that is being scheduled. Based on that, the flow will not get executed until the time is reached. So once the time is reached, the flow gets executed in different transaction. So in this way, again, in this scenario also, the governor limits are separate for the DML related events and the flow. Now, let's see what is the way, like what is the scenario that is useful for asynchronous way. So here a scenario is whenever a phone number is updated on an account, update the same number to all its child contact records. This may be very simple scenario where a particular record gets updated, like a single account record gets updated, and you're updating these corresponding two or three contact records. That will not have a major impact because the change when you do this on a single record may seem immediate. But whenever think like a situation where you are updating 1,000 records, 1,000 account records, and each account record is been associated with two or three contact records. So in that scenario, and if there is no big what you say big change, like if you think like there is no big impact, like you don't want any immediate change on the contact, you can wait for some time. Then you can go with the asynchronous way where you're updating the account, which is a normal DML transaction, and you are updating the contact in the background and you are doing the other job in your front end, like you're not stopping the execution. So in that scenario, totally this asynchronous way of doing will help a lot. So now let's see the example on this. So I have already created a flow, but I'll just show you how to do that asynchronously. So create from the scratch, select record trigger flow, and before selecting the object, okay, let's select an object account. And there is one option in the end called include run asynchronous. So as soon as I select this, what happens? You see two different paths have been created. One path is for the normal transaction executing immediately, and other path is for executing asynchronously. So that is what happens when you want to do asynchronous way. So I have just created that. So what I'm doing is I've created an account trigger, and on an update, like I want to update a phone number, and the phone number is changed because I don't want to run this logic every time. Only I want to run it when there's a change in the phone number, and using include run asynchronous path. So when I do that, what happens is I see two different paths. One is run immediately. As of now, I don't have any logic, but normally, in general scenario, what happens is you have a normal logic which is related to the account, and you also have this asynchronous way of treating some different business logic. So you can put both in the same trigger so that maintenance-wise it will be easy. But as I'm just creating a simple scenario for asynchronous way, I don't have any information related to the immediate logic. So in the asynchronous way, what I'm doing, I'm just creating a related record. If you see update related records to account that trigger the flow, I'm just adding the contact details and I'm just adding the phone. So whatever the phone, I'm getting the details from the account related phone using dollar record and this assigning it to the mobile phone. And automatically I'm updating it because it's an update related element that I'm been using it. So that is a simple flow. And let's see how it works. So this is GenPoint. GenPoint is one of the account and this account has one contact. Okay. When I update this number and save it, so this got updated to 6. But in general scenario, since it's in a background job and already in your environment or in your org, there are so many jobs that are running, this will take some time. So here I don't have any other jobs. That's the reason there's a immediately I see the change. And also this will have an impact when there is huge number of records, not single record, but I'm doing a data loading activity. And when that happens and you're updating the phone number using data loading, then automatically all the corresponding contact records also needs to be updated and it will take some time to do that. So this way, asynchronous kind of implementation can be also be done using flows. So the same can be achieved using Apex using future methods, but this is through flow. Now let's see the next scenario. Next is about the schedule pathway. So the scenario. So what is the scenario is send an email alert or a bell notification or a chatted post to an agent before 3 days of a close date, 2 days or 3 days of the close date. So what is that means? I have a record on that particular opportunity record, there's a close date option. So I want to inform the agent whenever the close date is getting near, like 3 days before the close date, to the agent or his manager, whomever you want to notify them. So normally this is being done using workflows, time-based workflows earlier, but now this can be done using flows also using scheduled path. So now let's see how we can do that. So this is the one. No, this is not the one. Okay, I'm closing this. Yeah. So how to do this? Let's again create a new flow and show you on new record trigger flow. So again, you select an object. I'm selecting opportunity. And if you want to give any condition, you can just give these conditions. But what I'm doing is I'm clicking on add scheduled path. So here I can give the dates information. Like one is run immediately, that is nothing but run execute immediately. One is new scheduled path. So like this, you can create number of scheduled paths based on your requirement. And also, as I said, if you have the logic related to execute immediately, that also you can add in the same flow. But here I don't have that option. I mean, that any logic. I'm not adding it. So what it has is this is the one. So what I'm doing is I'm click on edit. Whenever a record is created or edited, I'm not doing any conditions, actions and related records because we are not updating here the existing record. We are just sending a notification. So that comes under actions and related records. Now you see here, this is a different action. So as we discussed earlier, there are different, like whenever you're selecting an action, there are different actions that we can use. So earlier we saw about the custom notification, send custom notification. That is the one which we saw earlier. But now we can also send an email. So using send email option. So when you click this, you get so many options. Let's discuss on that. So this is the email. And you see there are various options. One is a body. So similarly, we need to create a formula field to have the body. So I've just created a body like opportunity name is due to close on so and so. So that is what the body information. Then we have something called recipient address list. So we can create an address location a collection by adding different email addresses, but or you can get it using the lead owner, something like that. But I have just hard coded my email address. So this is one way. If you see here, you can do a comma delimited list of recipients' email address. That is what you can do here. Next, we have the related record, triggering record, which is doing this. So on which record the email is being sent. So that is what this option. You can also add rich text body and sender email address, say whom you want to send as, so that you can do this here. And the subject. Okay. And if you have, there's one more thing is like something like you can add the template also, email template. If you already created a template, based on that, you can have the template. Normally, email alerts are mainly for the customers. Here, I'm just giving it for the agent. Normally, whenever we want to notify an agent, we use a bell icon or a chatter post. That is one of the way which we can do. So this is what we are doing. So let's see how it works. Let's go to opportunity records. Okay. So the close date is very old. So I'm just updating it to 31st. And I have 2 days. I think it's not 3 days. So I mentioned here as 2 days. 2 days. Okay. So save. So now what happens is we will not see immediately any email, but if you go to uh, time-based workflow, in this you can see the monitoring of all the future time triggers that are getting executed. So when you click on search, you see this option. We are getting this. So yeah. So this is how we do schedule path. So we have many other scenarios which we can use for schedule path and notify the users based on the due dates. It can be for custom object or the standard object. Okay. Now let's see. So what are the next steps? As of now, we have completed the major portion of record trigger flows. So anything that needs to be added in the record trigger flows will be added in future sessions using additional topics related to flows. But on a whole, on a high level or few scenarios related, everything has been covered. So next, we'll be diving into screen flows from the next session. So please make sure that you subscribe to these sessions and so that you'll be getting the next sessions on the screen flows. Thank you.